Eh, Ohayou gozaimasu. Watashi wa Alejandro desu. Watashi wa Mekishiko karakimashita. And that's all the Japanese I know. Thank you very much for being here. I'm very excited here in Japan. This is my second time here. It's an amazing country, an amazing culture, and this is my first time in this stage. I'm very excited. Today, we're going to talk about trading technologies. As I said before, I'm from Mexico. I work for the company IOActive, where I do research and consulting. And my financial background is self-taught, and I also bridged this with cybersecurity because I'm interested in both topics. And this is the presentation of today. This is the agenda. I will give you a basic introduction on the financial markets, on trading software, and then the core of the talk, vulnerabilities that I found, followed by responsible disclosure and other interesting stuff, such as further research that I will suggest you, and some conclusions and recommendations. All right. This is how Wall Street and the rest of the stock exchanges looked like a couple of decades ago. We passed from this to this. More computers, less people, because it's faster, it's cheaper. However, there are some risks involved, right? Now, whenever a company needs funding, needs money, they can go either with private investors or they can go to the stock market. And they are traded with different, as different symbols. We can see here Apple, Amazon, Visa, Ferrari, etc. Now, these companies are traded in stock exchanges that are like routers, like switches. You can buy and sell securities, let's say stocks, ETFs, and many other financial instruments. It's important to distinguish the differences between stock exchanges and common banking networks. In common banking networks, we have a centralized entity, right? The financial institution. And in the exchange markets, we have a distributed ledger. So there is registry of who sold what and to whom, who owns what securities, how many stocks are people sold from here to here to here. Having said that, it's important to know that the valuable information, as well as the attack surface and the vectors, are different from banking applications. They are from the same sector, but we will see some slightly differences between these. Now, let's talk about trading software. With your trading software, you can buy securities, you can buy stocks, ETFs, and many other instruments. You can monitor your cash balances, how much money do you have, how much money do you lend to the broker, and also you can monitor your performance, how well you're doing on the stock exchange, how much money you're earning or losing. Plus, you can do market research, create alerts, have real-time news and broadcasts, and many other things, advanced charting, etc. Hence, the sensitive data that I showed you before must be secret and must be known only by you, by the owner of your things. I wouldn't like other people to know how much money I have invested, right? How many positions I have on Tesla, how many positions I have on Amazon, etc. Now, let's see some of the most famous applications in the US and in Latin America. Some of the big names are, for example, TD Ameritrade, Charles Schwab, Yahoo Finance as well. Yahoo Finance used to be, in the past, only for market research, only for market data, but nowadays you can link your brokerage account into Yahoo Finance so you can keep monitoring your performance in these applications. And you can see big numbers in here, many users using these applications. Coinbase for cryptocurrencies, markets.com, Bloomberg Terminal, which is very expensive. It's a paid terminal and a paid service. It's very expensive. This is very famous in Spain and in Latin America. And you can see millions and hundreds of thousands of people using these applications. Oanda for foreign exchange, etc. Now, my research, what I did basically is a statistical analysis. This is nothing new. This is not something cybersecurity would do. This is something we all know already. And what I did is a basic analysis on some of the most used and well-known trading software that includes 16 desktop apps, 34 mobile apps, and 30 websites that encompasses this list of 40 brokers. There are many well-known brokers, such as Binance, Bitfinex, Bloomberg, Charles Schwab, Coinbase, eSignal, eTrade, ETX Capital, Fidelity, First Trade, the Mexican stock market, IQ Option, Kraken, Merrill Edge, which is a mix between Merrill Lynch and the Bank of America, Oanda, Plus 500, Robinhood, Scottrade, the Ameritrade, and Yahoo Finance. I didn't test any of the Japanese or Asian brokers. That's a homework for you guys. After you see some screenshots that I'll show you, I didn't touch any of the software from this part of the world. So I'm not sure how good or how bad are the let's say, Tokyo Stock Exchange and whatnot, right? All right, my analysis. I used a Windows 7 and a Windows 10 computer, iOS on an iPhone 6, and the Android emulator. And what I checked on all these applications were these security controls, which are basic controls. This is only the tip of the iceberg. Only basic controls, such as how good is the authentication, do the application support 2FA, for example? Are they storing my information encrypted in the phone or in the computer? Basic things like that. And on the website, the common stuff, cross-site scripting, clickjacking, security headers, encryption, password policies, automatic logout and lockout, root detections for mobile, etc. As you can see, this is very basic, right? Now, the results. Unfortunately, in this part of the finance industry, we are still in diapers. There is a long way to go to have mature technologies in this area. If you compare these results against banking applications, you can see a big difference. And honestly, I don't know why it's happening. I don't know why these applications are less secure than the retail banking apps, even if they are from the same financial institution. No idea. In the following content, the screenshots and demos, we will see strong evidence of why we need to improve this. Okay, the biggest concern, encryption. Encryption in communications. 64% of the desktop applications, they have either partial or full unencrypted communications. What is the risk of this? Imagine there is an attacker in the same coffee shop from where the trader is. The attacker could intercept and modify data. Let's imagine a basic example of an attack. Change the prices, the bid and ask prices of a security. So the trader would be buying or selling based on misleading information. Or the classic stuff, sniffing your information. The attacker would be able to see how much money you have invested, how much money you are buying or selling from certain securities. Most of the requests come in the HTTP form, and there are many other protocols for the financial industry, such as FIX. And of course, they're proprietary software, right? Let's see. This is an app. This is basic HTTP. You can see here, create order from your account with this pair of securities, how much money, etc. This is plain text. This is another application. This application, which is a desktop application, sent to a third-party provider their own API login tokens. So anyone, like me or you, can take this URL, put it in your browser, and hijack the session of the broker. That's easy, right? This is nothing sophisticated. There is no voodoo in it. It's just a basic Wireshark screen capturing packets. This one is interesting. This is eSignal. eSignal is a signal provider. As you know, the guys who have the information as quick as possible are the guys who do the best profit from it, the best trades. As soon as you go into the market, the more profit you get. This company push you signals to your market application, and it's a paid service. You pay for information, right? They give you a username and a password, but in this application, which is the broker, which is the server, a TCP server, you can see my username and my password in clear text. Interestingly, I could see the copyright from 99. How is that possible that 20 years later, we are still using software from 99? Can you imagine that? I think it's a legacy software. Of course, I went to the SEC to see some archives, etc., and I found out that this company was acquired by another company, and probably this is why they are carrying this very old software without security. This is another application, FX Pro, for foreign exchange. You have your price connection and your trade endpoint, and in the endpoint, you have the port with SSL, but if you prefer, you can use plain text. Why not? Let's see a demonstration video on interactive brokers. I bought, which is a robot assistant, so you can send orders to this robot, and the information goes over FIX, which is Financial Information Exchange Protocol. This is the application.
Price of Netflix.
I sent a command. The application detected my voice and sent me the price of Netflix.
Buy 100 shares of Netflix at market price. Submit order.
Finally, I buy the securities. The rest of the application goes encrypted over HTTPS, is secure, except from this new feature. This is another problem. The small features that are not secured. This is Wireshark. You can see the basic FIX decoder. And when I follow the TCP stream, you can clearly see the user input. This. So if I ask for my, my positions, how much money do I have, my balances, etc., everything is here partially unencrypted. So let's be careful with things like this. Your application could be very secure, but if you're not protecting small pieces like this, then who knows? Okay. Here, my positions, clear text. This application is interesting. They have this SSL button at the login screen, disabled by default, by the way. And we have two problems here. But the first problem is we all know what SSL means, right? We are tech savvy. We understand that. But what about the financiers? What about people who have no idea what SSL means? They might think, okay, if this is by default disabled and I have no idea what it is, of course I won't touch it. I want to trade. I don't care what SSL is, right? So the second problem is, Even when SSL is enabled, the application is secure, the communication is encrypted. However, there is a log file with all my balances, with all the positions, etc., that is being sent in clear text. All this is in clear text. All you need is to capture this packet over HTTP, and you can see all the information, your balances, your positions, etc. Now let's see this one. This is a watch list. Clear text everywhere. This is another one. This is similar to the previous one, where all the communication is secure over HTTPS, but one developer forgot to remove a duplicate request over HTTP. One request was enough to capture the session token, and only this value is all you need to hijack the session. Now, another interesting problem is denial of service. Availability is one of the most important assets when it comes to trading. If your application is not ready, you could lose trading opportunities, right? You need to have your application right in time to submit orders. But there are problems that we are still committing from the 90s. This is very 90s when it comes to TCP sockets. Many applications, they are not limiting the number of connections on the TCP servers. What you can do is just create many connections, and you will exhaust the memory and other resources. Let's see a couple of demos. The first one will be TD Ameritrade's Thinkorswim, the TCP orders server that changed different security problems. We'll see. Okay. This is the application. I go to the configuration, and you can see the TCP orders port number. So whenever I connect, I get this error. Command not recognized. It's their own protocol, right? So what I did, I reversed the application, which is with a Java application. And I started to follow that error message. And when I found the syntax error message, I continue until I found the parser. So you can see clearly some of the grammar, how the syntax is parsed. And in the end, I was able to create a valid message for this. So you can send orders. Now, the problem is there is no limit of connections. So I created this small program that I call order pop-up attack, because whenever there is an order sent, there is a pop-up, and the application is frozen until that pop-up is click OK or cancel, right? This is the trader using the application, and whenever I execute the attack, you can see the orders here, the pop-up. And the trader cannot do anything until you close that pop-up. Secondly, for some reason, this small attack triggered a null pointer dereference in the application. It's crashed now. So basically, the application rendered useless. Now, after I stop the attack, you can see that when this application crashed, the error could be sent to the developers. And a third problem is that in this report, there is a screenshot of my main application, the screen 0. And the third problem is this could be a privacy concern, because in this screenshot, I'm showing how much money do I have, etc., and could be sent to the developers. Do developers really need to know how much money do I have in my account to fix a null pointer dereference? I don't think so. Now, another example of a denial of service is Signal. We have the TCP servers here, listening. This is a basic HTML file, a malicious file that will load very often and send a request to the local host. So imagine a phishing attack sent to the trader clicks on the malicious link. And do you really know what's happening while you're reading this? Well, your trading application is going to crash. So after the application crashes, there is no more signal, and the rest of the applications connected to this signal provider are gone. You cannot trade anymore. The plugin disconnected. This is the basic concept of denial of service, right? So you're not sure if you have to buy or to sell securities because your application is gone. It's a basic memory leak. What should be done? Basic things. Control the maximum number of connections, set timeouts, and the throughput, seconds or minutes between orders. Now, let's move on to another interesting thing that is not a bug. It's not a vulnerability. It's a feature for real. There are trading languages supported in the most sophisticated tools that allow you to develop your own expert advisors, which are trading robots, your own indicators, and more advanced trading, right? The problem is that many of these languages are on the top of other languages, such as C++, C#, Pascal, and as you know, some allow DLL imports, right? In some of these applications, they allow the imports, some others restrict that, some others warn you about the DLL imports. They tell you, hey, this could be dangerous. But interestingly, when you go to the internet and look for tutorials on how to implement trading robots, all the people want money, all the people want to get rich overnight. You see these tutorials step by step. Click here, click next, install the robot, click the DLL imports, and again, we understand the risk of this, but people, financiers, who have no idea what that DLL is, well, if the tutorial is telling me to enable this, I will. The risks are command execution. Malicious plugins from the internet, there are thousands of them in forums, in trading forums for different platforms. This is a basic calc.exe, or let's see a more sophisticated demo, a more realistic demo. This is nothing sophisticated, honestly. This is something basic, you will see. This is a backdoor for MetaTrader, which is one of the most famous platforms, disguised as an Ichimoku indicator, which, as far as I remember, this is a Japanese indicator. So we have here my graphs, and this is the development language. This is the indicator that I created. This is Ichimoku Cloud. Here I importing the Ichimoku Cloud library, shell32.dll. On initialization, I will draw the cloud, executing these commands. Certutil will download this, which is a base64 program. Oops, something wrong happened. Okay. Then I will decode the cloud, and finally I will execute or draw the Ichimoku cloud. After I compile the plugin, I have my graph here, I have my indicators. I will put this Ichimoku indicator into this graph. I drag it here. This is the configuration. and the dependencies, allow DLL imports. If I click OK, you can see the cloud, but what's happening behind? I connect, and there is a basic backdoor in this indicator. So as you could see, there was a warning, but this was the only application that showed me that warning. Now, let's move on to more interesting stuff. Passwords, unencrypted. In 21% of the mobile apps and desktop apps, the password was stored unencrypted. There are different ways to extract this information, right? Either from the file system or the login console in Android with ADB Logcat, or in iOS, just again, checking the console logs. And the real attack scenario would be, whenever you have the password, you log in into the trading application on web, you link a new bank account, you sell all the stocks, you transfer the fiat money, and you remove the link. That's easy, right? We have another related problem here. Whenever you add a bank account, the applications ask you to put your password, not two-factor authentications. So what is the purpose of it? If you have the password already, you can add a new bank account. And in many cases, when the application supports two-factor authentication, they do not ask for that when you add a bank account. I think it's important to add this extra step in here. Let's see, ETX Capital. We have two problems here. First, they are sending the password in clear text into the log file. And the second problem is you never put sensitive information in a get parameter. Because, as you know, info in get parameters are stored in logs, in proxies, etc. Let's see this one. User password plain text here. So that means that a developer explicitly put this information here. They know that this is stored in clear text. Let's see another one. Whenever you change the password in this one, the new password is stored in log files. This is another one, clear text. Base 64 is not encryption. Still, they are encrypting strongly the password here. Coinbase, not the password, but when you enable two-factor authentication, the extra, not two-factor authentication, sorry, the PIN to unlock the application, well, this PIN is in plain text. We have another application here, and another one. I reported this one in 2017. This is the clear text password. I changed the password to 123456. 8 months later, this year, I retested the application. And yes, certainly, they have fixed this vulnerability. Here, the password is encrypted. But in another file, whenever you enable two-factor authentication to be more secure, for some reason, they are opening again the previous window. They're storing two-step out password. You're fixing one side, and you're leaving another door open. Now, related to passwords, trading data. Imagine a malicious user obtaining how much money do you have invested. I don't know. There could be endless possibilities, right, that a malicious guy can do, knowing that you are a rich person or I don't know, right? All this information should be known only by you. Your positions, your personal data, your watch lists, the balances, the portfolio. Imagine the seasoned investors that are quoting symbols because they know something. They are experts, right? If you see that certain people is, hey, this guy who is doing a lot of money on trading is looking often for this and this symbol, that means something. Probably he's waiting to buy stocks in the next days or in the next minutes. So this should be secret. This is sensitive. Still, you are finding all this information in clear text. Shiseido, for example, which is a Japanese company, right? By the way, this is one of my favorite stocks. I have a few of them, a few stocks. It's a really good company. Yahoo Finance. They have everything in a JSON file, Yahoo Finance. And we work together, and they fixed it. Another one, personal information, balances, symbols everywhere, my address, credit card information, my name, clear text everywhere, orders with a fancy ASCII art in a log file, symbols, prices, etc. Now, related to passwords, weak password policies. We can see brokers such as Plus 500 or MetaTrader that they allow users to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as password. And there are some others that they do not allow you to have complex passwords, such as this one. The password you enter is too long. Please choose a shorter password, less than 12 characters. Why is that? Seriously, is that a limitation in the database or what? Authentication problems. Most web applications implement two-factor authentication, but it's not enabled by default. In my opinion, they should encourage, they should try to enforce, try to push people to, hey, please enable 2FA, at least for adding a new bank account, for example, or to sell or to buy a certain amount of money on the market. Most desktop applications, of course, they do not implement two-factor authentication, even when their version for web is implemented. And most mobile phones nowadays, they support the fingerprint reader. However, 1/4 of the applications, 25%, do not implement fingerprint authentication. Another prevalent problem that I saw, session is still valid in server side after logout. This is a very common problem. And I saw this in big names such as E-Trade, Schwab, Fidelity, Yahoo Finance. You click the logout button, your browser appears that you're logged out, but the session that authenticates yourself with the server is still valid. I'm logged out from Yahoo Finance, and this is a previously captured request. I resent it with burp, and I got information. With E-Trade, same thing. With Schwab, same thing. The session cookie was still valid. And that's easy to fix, I think. Another thing, HTTP headers. Nowadays, every guideline, everything tells you, hey, use these basic sets of headers. This is something from the kindergarten. We all know that. Still, 50% of the applications do not implement the basic flags, and 70% for cookies, and 70% of them do not implement the other ones, such as strict transport security or CSP or extreme options and whatnot. Another interesting thing, privacy mode. Against shoulder surfing attacks, some applications implement it before and after enabling the privacy mode. Yahoo Finance enabled it, but most of the applications don't. I'm going to go faster. I'm running out of time. Hard-coded secrets. Developers love to leave traces. For example, Merry Ledge is a good one. You can see that the application is obfuscated. Nevertheless, the rest of the applications are not enforcing it properly. You can see even third-party service providers' passwords. And in many applications, they leave traces of their internal environments. Internal host names, private keys, host names, internal IP addresses, etc. When it comes to desktop applications, we have no idea what anti-exploitation mitigations are. None of the applications, most of the modules, they do not have ASLR, DEP, or canaries implemented. Here, everything is false. Even from the DLLs or exe files that listen on TCP sockets. The same for Linux. Certificate validation, 32% do not validate. And if they do, they ask you and they allow you to accept the certificate. Root detection, almost 80% do not detect it. And the ones who detect it, they just warn you about the risks. But you can use the application. The classic ones, cross-site scriptings for web applications. And this is only a bit of all the stuff I found on different applications. You can go here to read the white paper. You can see there are more statistics, more screenshots, and more problems, more vulnerabilities. Now, another problem, a high-level problem, the responsible disclosure. We reported this to 20 brokers in September last year and this year, this big list, and only a few of them replied our email with the reported vulnerabilities. Some of them told us that the contact email, which is the basic contact@company.com, is unmonitored. This is a big problem because when you are reporting security vulnerabilities, not only on trading platforms, in anything, if you do not monitor these kind of emails, you can lose things like this, right? This is another problem here. There is not a right channel to address security issues. The big guys are the ones that were closer to us, so we could help together to fix their issues. The big names, you know, TD Ameritrade, Schwab, Yahoo Finance, Interactive Brokers. They replied our emails 1 or 2 days after we sent the report, and you can clearly see this correlation between the amount of money they invest in cybersecurity and how they protect their customers, right? You can see this. The smallest brokers, they never receive the email, I'm sure. The email is there, somewhere there, lost on the digital debris, but they never saw a report. Only the big names, they invest more in cybersecurity. They want to protect their customer base. Now, I have other ideas, but I didn't have time to develop these ideas. So this is some ideas I had. So probably any of you want to expand this area. Social trading risks. Nowadays, everything is connected on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram, even the stock markets, the NYSE, NASDAQ, etc. They are sharing Instagram stories. They are on social media every day. They are teaching people what is an IPO, who is the new IPO of the day, etc. And there are many platforms that are implementing things like copycat trading, like following traders, like in Twitter. So if a trader is doing well, you can copycat their trades with your own money, of course. And I think it's an interesting topic. For example, in addition to fundamentals and technical analysis tools, there is something called sentiment analysis, which is basically a measure of the acceptance or rejection of certain stocks by people. For example, this is my platform. This is TD Ameritrade. You have the fundamentals and the rest of the information of the company here, Nintendo. But if you go to social signals, you can see the social indicator here, the sentiment. That means that 70%, 73% of the people is talking positively of such a stock. And they are talking more on Pokemon and Nintendo, and they are selecting certain tweets. Selected. So my idea is, I don't know where it's coming from, this information. Is that an appliance doing sentiment analysis, or is just a room with 5 guys looking on Twitter? I have no idea. I tried to bypass this, you know, putting some fake information on Twitter, and it was not picked up in here. It never appeared. So I think this is an interesting topic, because with that, if there is a flaw in that, is a way to bypass this, you can influence in the market data, right? Another risk is trading on misleading information, for example, fake news. How would are we by selecting this fake information? Wouldn't that be cool to have your trading application in your news feed to say, hey, hold on, warning, this could be fake. It's like, do not trade on this information. Analyze twice before you trade. Or things like this, confusion. Do you remember the PGP flaw this or last year? So funnily, there is a company, PIMCO, Globe Stock Plus, that their stock symbol, the ticker is PGP. So when it came to social media attention, PGP security flaw, the price plunged of this company. And it has nothing to do with the PGP encryption software. It was a different thing. But the stock market reacts in a different way. 5 minutes later, the people realized, hey, hold on, this is not my PGP. Let's buy again. And a lot of people did money here on the bear and bull market. Another further research. Today I talk you about basic protocols, HTTP and FIX. But there are many protocols in the different exchanges. You can see the big list. Have they been forced? Have they been checked in terms of security? I don't know. The regulators, they are still giving basic guidance. Even the rating organizations, you can see they rate the different traders with the stars, the fees, the platforms, the education, the research, how easy it is to use. I don't see a column for security. And I honestly, there should be one here. At least, you know, the reviewers checking if the application support 2FA or complex passwords, basic things like that, and put some stars on it, some accolades. Recommendation for end users, enable all the security mechanisms in your platform. For firms, analyze your platforms, implement secure design and programming, and let third-party companies, auditors, to audit your applications. Because it's different, the results are different with people thinking outside of the box. Conclusions. Trading applications are less secure than banking apps for some reason. I don't know why yet. Crypto exchanges have more security controls than the average. I think it's because of the exposure on the internet, on the Bitcoin hype, right? All the people want to hack the exchanges and get rich overnight, etc. For the same reason, they are implementing more security. And brokers need to improve not only their trading applications, the front-end applications, they also need to secure the back-end software, the protocols, the software they implement. I have heard horror story from different people working in the financial sector that tells me the kind of software they use in back office. And arigato gozaimashita. Thank you so much.